Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Rachel with Dark Knight Coaching. Today's video, I'm going to go over the clairs. In the last video, I went over the head and the heart. And this time, I'm going to go kind of a little more in depth with the clairs. So if you're experiencing a dark night of the soul, congratulations, welcome. It's a rough go. Sometimes it can be very overwhelming when you're experiencing a lot of new things, and I'm glad you're here. So hopefully this video will help you a little bit. If it does, please hit the like button, comment, subscribe. I would love to hear from you. And let's go ahead and dive in. So in the last video, I talked about your third eye chakra and I talked about your heart chakra. If you didn't catch that video, I would suggest watching it before this one, because I gotta just go for it into depth. So if you do have access to your third eye chakra, chances are you have some sort of clair. It's either clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairgustance, Clairtangency, Clairempathy, Clairaudience, Clairalience, or Claircognizance. There's more clairs than just the ones I've listed, but those are kind of the 8 most popular ones, which I'm going to go over here too. So when I went through my third eye opening, it was a very prominent feeling, and it basically felt like this buzzing in between my eyebrows that I couldn't put my finger on, basically, because it was a vibrational feeling. So a third eye opening typically means that you're going to see spirit in some way. You might feel spirit. A lot of the times when I first had my experience, I would have like sparkles out of the corner of my eye. I would see shadows out of my periphery. It was very strange. And then when I would turn to look at something, nothing was there. So I just thought I was going crazy for quite some time, which is a fun way to learn on the fly. But other times I would be laying in my bed at night trying to go to bed, and I would look up at my ceiling and I would see sparkles, almost as if there were stars in the room. And I have a pretty dark room and a ceiling, so I'm like, okay, this is also very strange. I'm probably having a stroke or something. But no, it is access to spirit that you're probably having. However, if you do have some symptoms like that and you feel the need, I'm not giving you medical advice, so make sure you go see a doctor. But for those of you that feel like it is the third eye opening, chances are it could be that. But again, I'm not a medical professional, so make sure you seek advice from an actual person if you need help, if you feel you feel like you need help. But when I saw the sparkles, I would also kind of wake up in the morning, and sometimes it would be like I was at the bottom of a swimming pool looking at refractions of the water, and the sun is another way to describe what I was seeing through my third eye as well. So, and even when I would close my eyes and they weren't open, I could still see sparkles. I could still see wisps of things. I could see dots. I could see lots of things that you shouldn't be able to see. And that's kind of how my clairs sort of began. But I had a couple clairs already that I didn't really know that I had before having my third eye open. So some of the time you will have these abilities that you're not even sure of, even if you don't have full access or a full open third eye. And when I was younger, I used to have a lot of just a clear knowing with people, mostly. If people were lying, I was kind of like a walking lie detector, and that is Claircognizance, is a clear knowing. So if you've ever had a conversation with someone and you're just like, I just know that they're not being truthful to me, I feel it in my gut, I feel it in my bones, chances are that is your Claircognizance of clear knowing. So we usually, if you don't have a third eye open, you have like a low grade version of this. We all have these abilities within us, but when your third eye is opened and clear, your pineal gland is clear, you will have access to more of those abilities, because the pineal gland is a crystal inside of your brain that connects to spirit or to the ether. It kind of acts as a transponder. And if you want to learn more about that, I'll probably have a video here shortly about pineal glands, so then you can get a kind of more in-depth knowledge of that. But the first thing I want to talk about is clairvoyance. So clairvoyance would be, my example, it would be seeing the stars on the ceiling. It would be seeing those waves, those wisps almost. So a lot of the time when you get into a transcendental state or a meditative state, your brain goes from beta, which is where we normally do our daily processes, in a beta brainwave state, and it goes from beta into gamma. It's kind of almost seems counterintuitive, because gamma is the fastest brainwave function, even though your body is at the slowest state. So commonly, Buddhist monks can get into a gamma brainwave state very quickly because they've been trained. They've trained themselves to do that, and that's why they're very good at meditating, and they usually get a lot of inner guidance, and they're very wise because they can access and get to their higher self quickly because of this the brainwave shift that they're able to do. So if you do see things or hear things or know things, a lot of the time as you're learning and developing your gifts, you're going to feel you're going to have that occur when you're waking up from your asleep, a dream, or those sorts of things. You might hear something that's maybe not there, but it is. It's kind of a strange feeling, but it is a very real thing. So basically when your brain wakes up from, I think it's delta stage when you're sleeping, it goes through a couple different processes to get to beta, and usually sometimes if you're in a deep cycle of sleep, it will go into gamma, and then that gamma is what gets you into these heightened connections essentially. And if you're not familiar with lucid dreams, I'm going to make a video on that as well. That also has to do with your brainwave function, and there are a couple over-the-counter herbal holistic type of things that you can take for that as well if you're interested in lucid dreaming. But let's dive back into clairvoyance. So clear seeing, clairvoyance means that you can see things with your eyes closed as well. So you may see them with your eyes open, but you can also see them with your eyes closed. So seeing shadows, seeing silhouettes, seeing figures, even seeing people or spirits that are outlined, that is very, very possible. I've had that experience as well. It's almost like there's a light white blue silhouette drawn around them, so it's like an outline of their body shape, their face shape, whatever it is. And you might be seeing things that look alien-like as well, so that's totally possible. But most of the time when you see spirit, it's going to be like this light blue white outline. And again, you'll be able to see that with your eyes closed or your eyes open most of the time. And then the next one is clairsentience, and that is the clear feeling. So if you feel like somebody's in the room with you, or all of a sudden you get really cold and you can't explain it, like there's a breeze and there's no fan, there's no window open, it doesn't make any sense, chances are that's clairsentience, because sometimes spirit will come in and they'll like walk around and you'll feel like a coldness. You might even feel goosebumps, or you might feel somebody even touching you sometimes, and that does happen. I've had instances where my guides have put their hand on my knee and my knee feels cold and everything else feels hot. It doesn't really make any sense, but I know it's just also that claircognizance of I know someone just touched me, but I can't explain it because there's nobody in the room. I've also had instances where my cat, I was on vacation and I felt like my cat came with me, but physically he was not there. However, when I was waking up or going to bed, I can't remember which one it was, but I was getting into that gamma meditative state, and I felt these little paws, walking around me, like walking around my outline, like my cat would usually do if I was home going to bed. So that is another way where you might be feeling spirit and you're not really sure, you don't really know. And sometimes you might feel like pressure on your body in different areas and different parts. I felt, in my reproductive organ area, I've felt things, and I've also seen things that are very aligned with possible experimentation that happens to people without awareness. And that is highly, highly possible and does happen from time to time. So it's, our higher self has access to things that we aren't maybe ready to handle or deal with, but everything is being done for a purpose, for a reason, even if we don't know we don't have the whole rule book, we don't have all of the information, but I think we are given just enough that we need to know at the time to align with our highest best selves, our highest best timeline. So the best way I've found, if you're feeling fearful when it comes to some of these things and you're really just not sure, I try to instantly switch to an attitude of gratitude, and I try to find something that I love about the situation of like, oh, wow, I love that I'm so attuned with my body that I felt whatever that was. Even if it might feel a little scary at the time, I try to switch it really fast. So, for example, Sometimes I see orbs. I'll see orbs of different colors. Sometimes I'll be having a dream and I'll wake up and I'll see the orb or the spirit that was in the dream with me. And then I try to switch it to something I like about that object or that person or that thing if it seems, a bit intimidating. Another clair is Clairgustance, which is taste. So sometimes, especially with mediums or psychic mediums or however you want to call them, spirit will send flavors or tastes into their mouth. It could be a bitter taste. It could be the taste of blood. It could be the taste of, their favorite food or something like that, just as a confirmation to you or to, the client or whoever they're working with that this is really the spirit that they're connecting with. So that has not happened to me, but I have heard there is a person I know that does happen to, and it really is just a confirmation for somebody to know that it's really the person that they're trying to get in contact with. So another clair, which I've already kind of touched on, is Clairtangency. That is touch. Now, touch can be, again, like a hand on the knee or a cold sensation. It can also be, like I said, the feeling of maybe your organs shifting or something happening. Sometimes I will feel pressure on my temples or I'll feel pressure on my brain that I'm like, oh, I don't know what that is, but it feels like somebody is in there, somebody's doing something, and it's highly possible that they are. But there's no way to prove that. It's just kind of a feeling and it's just kind of a knowing. Now, Reiki is a great clairtangency gift or ability that people have. I highly, highly recommend Reiki to anyone and everyone because it is energy healing. It's going to, basically, if you find a proper Reiki person who's certified and someone you can get on with well and someone who really knows what they're doing and they can really feel your energy, they're attuned not only with their energy, but they're attuned with your energy, and they can help channel it from them into you and help you heal some blockages, or if you're too open, it can help you transmute and move the energy around. So I really highly recommend Reiki. Some of you are probably healers and you don't even know it, but Reiki is a great example of clairtangency because some people can just feel things differently, and you could feel, some people can come up to you and they can feel pain on your body in certain areas. I think Carolyn Miss is a great example of that. I think she's an energy healer as well, and she can somehow read people's energy bodies, and she can really tell you what you need to work on. So that's a lovely gift to have to help people. And then the next clair is Clairempathy. That's all about feelings and emotions. So if you ever walk into a room and it just feels cold or chill and you're just wow, the vibe is really off in here, chances are that's probably your Clairempathy, because you're really just you're zooming in on the energy of the room, of the people, and you're wow, this is a really off feeling. Something just happened. Somebody was just in a fight, or something's just, you can't really explain it, but you can feel, if the group or a person in particular isn't happy, and things of that nature. So that is very common with people who have abilities, psychic abilities, because they're kind of like sponges in that way, where they soak up the energy of the room, and that's kind of how they do their magic in a sense, because the magic of knowing, of seeing, of feeling, of all of the things that they incorporate is, in a sense, Clairempathy, because it's feeling someone's energy, it's feeling someone's vibration, it's feeling somebody's feelings and having an understanding of that. So it can be a very heavy ability to have, but there are ways that you can balance yourself so you're not such a sponge all of the time. There are crystals you can use as protection and things of that nature. There's also plants that are good for protection, and saging and things like that also help. So the next clair I'm going to go over is Clairalience, which is the smells. So if you ever smell something out of nowhere, then you're wow, what is that? It doesn't make any sense. Why am I smelling this thing? Could be spirit sending you a message. It could be just a confirmation of hey, you're not alone. For example, in my house, I quickly learned that someone had passed away here. It did freak me out for a little bit, but until I realized what was happening. But I would get the whiff of cigarette smoke, and I'm not a smoker, and I've painted everything in this home when I moved in, but for whatever reason I kept smelling cigarette smoke at random times of the day, and I was what is this? I couldn't understand. And then when I went to see a medium, she was like, oh yeah, so that person is just like basically sending you a sign that you're not alone, that they're there with you. And it was kind of a nice confirmation. It was kind of a creepy confirmation as well, because you realize you're never really alone. So that's kind of cool. But Clairalience is also can come in other ways. So like if your loved one passed and you maybe smell their perfume or their cologne, and you're out somewhere and it's just like coincidental feeling like, oh, somebody just wore that same scent, like that's bizarre. I don't believe in coincidence, so I do feel like it is for a purpose, it is for a reason. It's somehow their way of reminding you like they're still with you. And let's see, the next one is Clairaudience, which is hearing sounds and messages. So sometimes you might hear your loved ones or somebody who's passed away talk to you. They might speak in your ear. Sometimes you'll just hear this like buzzing in your ear, this vibration or this ringing sound. That's happened to me. Sometimes you might hear, again, a piano key sound or some music or something of that nature. There's things that kind of don't make sense. You might hear those. In other ways, clairaudience comes through like a thought. So it comes through like it's your own thought, but it's almost like how you have that inner voice. It's almost like that inner voice is telling you something through a thought, but it doesn't feel like it's your own thought. And you're kind of like, it almost feels like an intrusive thought where it hits you out of nowhere and you're kind of like, wow, where did that come from? I didn't have that on my mind. It's most likely your guides or your angels or spirits sending you a message of like, hey, this is the next thing. Hey, this is the next step. Or hey, here's a reminder of what you need to do next. Now, lastly is the Claircognizance, which is the clear knowing. So I like to think of Claircognizance as kind of a culmination of all of these clairs, because it sometimes can be, goosebumps where you have a clear knowing. It can be like you feel this buzz, this vibration where you're like, wow, something felt weird about that, because the Claircognizance usually taps into a lot of the other clair gifts. And in my case, sometimes I'll get, goosebump confirmations, or I'll get even lights flickering on and off. That has been a constant confirmation for me in my lifetime. Ever since I was younger, like street lamps would go off and there would be no rhyme or reason for it other than I was right there. Other ways can be like Bluetooth devices don't work. They don't want to hook up, or you shut it off when you're in the room. That's a very supernatural state of basically you're vibrating so high that it mixes up those Bluetooth vibrations, essentially. So that can also be a sign or a flag for you with Claircognizance. Now, let's see. I think I hit just about everything, but just remember, if you want to try to access the clairs, it's very important that your third eye is open. It's also very important that you have solid intentions when it comes to these abilities. So a lot of people try to use these abilities for maybe not so good things, but spirit typically doesn't give those people access to the higher abilities because they're not going to use their gifts for good. So just make sure when you are using these abilities, you're using them for a solid, loving purpose with good, pure intentions. That's why I feel like it's very vital that your heart chakra is open when you have access to your abilities, because if you have a closed heart, you're not leading with love, you're leading with fear or logic most likely. And then at that point, having access to the abilities turns into some sort of like party trick, and you're kind of like a one-trick pony. And it's not benefiting anyone besides your ego. So it's very important that you have an open heart as well as an open mind. And if you haven't watched that video, again, I recommend going and watching the head and heart video, because I get a little bit more into detail about that. And I'm seeing 444 on the clock right now, so that might be a significant angel number for you. But if this video helped, please hit the like button, comment, subscribe. I would love to hear from you. I hope this did help somebody out there. And if you're interested in booking a one-on-one session with me, please feel free to reach out and send me a message, and we can get you scheduled for that. But thank you for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. It's probably all about the pineal gland.